this one's going to get pretty funky just because, again, I need to start doing the scrap on my computer to have a bigger screen, but I need a microphone that doesn't allow for all the background noise that I hope you are not hearing right now. So, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. All right. Now, I was mentioning before, if you happen to watch that last one, because that was just the Series 8 against the new SE, Apple also announced the Apple Watch Ultra. I do wonder how the naming scheme is going to go forward with that particular model, because I would assume they're not going to release a new Ultra every year. But I will say, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to scroll back up to that. Nope, never mind. Well, they still call it Apple Watch SE. They don't call it second generation, but if you scroll down, they do call that one first generation. I feel like sometimes with the phones, they try not to. Nah, I think they did. Anyway, disregard what I'm saying. So back to the Apple Watch Ultra. It's a massive watch, a 49 millimeter case, and I assume that's a diagonal measure since it's square and not a circle. If it were a circle, holy smokes, that would be extremely massive. But in terms of sheer design, there are some differences between the 8 and, of course, any other previous model. But if we're just looking at the 8 and the Ultra, we see that they both have always on LTPO OLED displays. The Ultra gets brighter, 2000 nits as opposed to just 1000 nits. Flat sapphire crystal display. So I think all Apple Watches should just be flat. And the design of the Ultra, let's see if you can see in the picture, you can't, but the glass sits in the bezel pretty much. So if you bump the side of it, you're not bumping the glass, you're bumping, whatever metal is that's surrounding the watch face. I think all Apple Watches should do that. It just makes it for a more durable thing, regardless of whether you're going out and hiking or climbing mountains. When I owned my Apple Watches, yeah, I'd hit them on stuff all the time, and I'd be worried. Oh crap, am I going to damage this? And after a while, you kind of stop caring because the product gets old. You've had it for a while, and they are pretty durable as is. But it would just be better, I feel, if it weren't just a piece of glass. I'll say a piece of exposed glass just sitting on your wrist. So the fact that the Ultra is flat and has raised sides to protect the glass does make sense. Same S8 system in package. Um, let's see, temperature sensors both on them. All that stuff is the same. Now the water resistance is different. So we're talking 100 meters now instead of 50 meters. So that's good. Now we can see that there are some differences because they're not lined up anymore. Oh, all it really was the description of the the different descriptions of the display. So nothing important. Because now if we just look diagonally here, everything is essentially the same. Let's see. Wait, I mentioned water resistance. No, I think here's a thing where they just kind of cheaped out. If you're looking at the LTE and Bluetooth lines, Bluetooth 5.3 versus 5.0, I mean, you'd have to look somewhere else to see exactly the differences. But I don't see why Bluetooth 5.3 isn't something that's available in their newest non-ultra watch. Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're not talking about what makes the watch ultra. We're just talking about core technologies that are progressing as time goes on. And to, I guess, refuse to adopt newer technologies in your non top of the line device, which is made specifically for certain people, that just seems to be an unnecessary miss and way of being cheap. Because for like the way I was talking about the screen, like, yeah, I feel like that is a better design for a watch to have, but at least it serves purpose and functionality for the type of watch that this Ultra is supposed to be. But the lack of Bluetooth 5.3 just seems like, yeah, we'll just put a different radio in it because it's cheaper. So that's why we put it in the other ones, and we'll put the more expensive one in the more expensive watch. Okay, all right, that's what they've chosen to do. Okay. Now, with the speakers and the microphones, again, something else that probably you could still bring to your non ultra watch, but at least still there's some added purpose to it where they were trying to explain that, yeah, like if you're hurt and now you sound the alarm on your watch, it's louder so somebody could hear you. Okay, I can at least kind of see where you're going with it, but still you could put it on, well, I guess you really don't need it because the only time you use the speaker on the non ultra watch is when you're taking a phone call, so you don't need two speakers for that. So, okay, I get it. Uh, the microphones, again, maybe, yeah, you don't need the best mics when you're talking on the phone using your watch under normal circumstances. But if you are, yes, in a blizzard and it's super windy and snow is falling everywhere and you need your watch and you're talking to it, then yes, I guess having more microphones helps. All right, whatever. They both have the same capacity. Now, here's something that I found interesting, which for most people probably is a complete non-factor. But while I was using my watches, I did not have this. Well, I had the cellular model, but I did not have it activated for reasons that we don't go into right now. But what I did do was have some audiobooks, not through Audible, but through some MP3 files that I used, that I imported into iTunes, then synced my Apple iPhone with it, then pushed that stuff to the watch. So it was a lot just to get these MP3 files onto the watch. But what I found out through some googling is that you, as a user, are only able to use a quarter of the phone storage capacity for multimedia stuff. So there were a few times where I actually had to delete stuff because the watch was full. So I had assumed that that's probably the same thing, and I know they do that to make sure that the watch has enough space to update when it needs to. And I don't know what else. I don't know exactly how it's segmented, but they've purposely capped it so that way, hey, you can't use up all 32 gigabytes of this for your own personal crap because we need enough room in here for system files and for the watch to be able to be updated. So yeah, I kind of I understand it, but I didn't like it. I'll tell you that. Understand it, but I did not like it. And that's pretty much it when it comes to that. Watch the keynote. I am telling you, there are a ton of other things that I know I am not going to hit on, nor am I going to present to you with the same level of enthusiasm because I'm not going to buy one of these. Interesting technologies, I will say, interesting technologies. The one thing, where is it? Yeah, crash detection. So, yeah, this is something that I thought was interesting, and I will probably hit up on it in another video that I'll talk about with the particular phones. But as we can see, both the Apple Watch Series 8, the Apple Watch Ultra, and I think they said any Apple Watch running whatever the latest version of WatchOS, whatever it's going to be, is going to be able to have crash detection. Where's the other SE? Does this have it on it? Yes, crash detect. Great. All right. So even the basic Apple Watch. So now we're talking just the SE has crash detection, but I'm pretty sure that for the new iPhone, so the iPhone 14 series, only the Pro models are going to have crash detection. I might be wrong, and I'm going to check those out in a moment. But if that's the case, I mean, at that point, that would be a serious like this has like you can falsely advertise these phones as pro devices all you want. But crash detection has nothing to do with that. At that point, yeah, we are talking safety features. And when I was listening to the Vergecast a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about vehicles that have these subscription models. And BMW, I think one of the things that they turned into a subscription thing was the ability for your headlights to turn off, your high beams to turn off automatically as traffic approaches. And yeah, they were like, hey, this is a safety feature that you're adding to like a subscription model. Like we're not talking heated seats or cooled seats or whatever other things, CarPlay. We're talking safety features. So here we're talking a safety feature on your basic watch is not available on your latest phone. And again, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. So I'm going to go check that out in a moment. But All I'm going to say is that the watches look nice. I'm not going to buy any of them. I've already tried the Apple Watch. In fact, in total, I think I've had three, maybe four, but definitely three over the course of two separate periods of time. So the first Apple Watch I got, I believe, was a Series 3. Had it for a little while, and I said, this just isn't for me. Some time went by. My brother gave me his Series 6, and then I also bought a Series 5. Again, no reason to get into those details, but I did have two Apple Watches at the same time. And yeah, used them for a little bit. Thought I was going to get rid of my iPhone. Ended up getting rid of the watches. Kept the iPhone. Started using a Fitbit, and I'm perfectly satisfied with the experience that I'm getting with the Fitbit as opposed to the Apple Watch. So, so yeah, I am not going to buy any of these. Now, as a lot of the speculators, analysts were saying that, oh, this Apple Watch Ultra is geared towards um, those Garmin people who, really off terrain. And Apple, when they went through their little keynote, they definitely marketed towards those types of people. But as I'm, thinking it and I'm looking at the price, which it starts at $700, I believe. In fact, that might be the only price. Um, there are Garmins that don't cost that much. So in typical Apple fashion, which is perfectly fine, I'm not ragging them on it, but they are appealing to a portion of a market, which is fine. And just like with the with the iPhone for a long time was kind of a luxury thing. You have Android devices, all shapes and sizes, all different price levels, price points. And the iPhone was expensive, and it stayed expensive for a while. Then eventually they introduced the SE, and they didn't update that for a while. But then they updated it for a second generation, and now they have a third generation. So you have an iPhone at various price points. They even sell last year, and in fact, we're talking 2 years because the iPhone 12 is still available for sale. So we're multiple generations of the iPhone still for sale. So Apple, when it comes to the watch, they're just trying not the watch. I'm sorry. When they're talking about the phone, they are trying to make it as appealing to as many people as possible, and by offering it at different price points, they're able to do that. Even with the watch, they had the Series 3 for sale for a while. And then they have the SE out, and now they have a new SE, and then they have um, the Series 8, and they have this Ultra. I don't know if they're keeping another generation available, but even with most of the watches, it still seems like, hey, they're trying to appeal to a bunch of people. But this Apple Watch Ultra is geared towards a specific group, and that group might buy it. But again, yes, at this point, it is, well, you have to give them a reason to no longer use their Garmin, which Garmin has been around for a while, and they make some really, really good stuff. I have a Garmin watch that I use, and again, I have one, and I use it as just a basic thing. I use it when I'm walking literally just around the track or around the neighborhood as my GPS tracker. Paid like 100 something bucks for it 2 years ago now. Or shoot, probably closer to 3 years ago now. Um, and yeah, and that's all that it is. So I am a Garmin owner, but I am not the type of person that Apple is trying to appeal to with this Apple Watch Ultra. So good on them. They will be perfectly fine. They will market it however, and just like with their mini phones and with the HomePod, um, if it doesn't sell the way that they want to sell it, they'll kill it, and we won't hear about the Apple Watch Ultra again. So yeah, this is going to summarize my thoughts on the Apple Watches for this particular event and this particular day. I'll take a look at the iPhones in a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to talk about the AirPods. Don't really care about those too much.